Ganjing World, a brighter way of life.
NTD Newsroom, I'm Don Ma. President Trump sounding the alarm on India, slamming the country for raking in profits from Russian oil while turning a blind eye to the war in Ukraine. Now he's vowing massive new tariffs, and the European Union holds off on retaliatory tariffs on American goods. The pause follows a deal with President Trump. Democratic state lawmakers in Texas have fled the state to try to prevent a vote on redrawing congressional maps. They face fines or possible arrests. Foreigners may soon be required to post a $15,000 bond to enter the U.S. How the move may prevent visa overstays. Thousands of workers at 3 Boeing manufacturing plants went on strike overnight. More about the contract dispute and what's behind the walkout. President Trump says he deployed nuclear submarines to the Russian region, the move that sparked Trump's response.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. Tariffs, drug prices, and staffing changes. President Trump addressed a wide range of issues over the weekend while speaking to reporters. Let's now go to NTD's Daniel Monahan with the key takeaways.
President Trump spoke to reporters Sunday before boarding Air Force One in Allentown, Pennsylvania, en route to Washington, D.C. The president said he would announce a candidate to fill an open position at the Federal Reserve in the next couple of days. The Fed said Friday that Governor Adriana Kugler was resigning early from her term.
And I think she left because she agreed with me on interest rates, and yet they were on the other side of the ballpark, right?
Kugler did not provide a reason for stepping down in her resignation letter. President Trump also said he would announce a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the near future. Trump fired Erica McIntyre over allegations that she manipulated job data and falsified employment numbers before the 2024 election, allegedly in an effort to boost presidential candidate Kamala Harris's chances of victory.
And if you remember, just before the election, this woman came out with these phenomenal numbers on Biden's economy. Phenomenal numbers. And then right after the election, they announced that those numbers were wrong. And that's what they did the other day. So it's a scam, in my opinion.
McIntyre responded to her dismissal in a post on social media, calling it an honor of her life to serve as BLS commissioner. She did not immediately return a request for comment by the Epoch Times. A disappointing jobs report was released Friday, which showed only 73,000 jobs added, below the 105,000 expected. Jobs were also sharply revised downward for May and June by nearly 260,000. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett reacted on Fox News.
I've been following this forever. I've never seen a revision like that.
Hassett says the revisions were the largest in 50 years, excluding the COVID years. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said the monthly revisions resulted from additional reports received from businesses and government agencies and from the recalculation of seasonal factors.
The fact is that when the data are unreliable, when they keep being revised all over the place, then there are going to be people that wonder if there's a partisan pattern in the data.
The National Economic Council Director says with the economy, it's really important to keep your eyes on the horizon.
And then the eyes on the horizon are seeing really smooth sailing ahead. We've got 3% GDP growth.
Trump also addressed the tariff revenue coming into the country.
We have hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our country now. We should have done this many years ago.
The president says the U.S. will pay down its debt.
And there could be a distribution or a dividend to the people of our country. I would say for people that would be middle-income people and lower-income people, we could do a dividend.
President Trump also addressed drug prices, saying his recent moves to lower them could boost Republicans heading into midterm elections.
Well, one of the things they're going to be talking about pretty soon are the tremendous drop in drug prices. You know, we've cut drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500%.
Finally, Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said Americans should expect tariff levels to remain where they are, even as some trading partners look to negotiate deals past a key deadline. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Canada's trade minister says discussions between Prime Minister Mark Carney and President Trump are likely in the coming days. The talks come after the U.S. imposed a 35% tariff on certain Canadian goods Friday. The Canadian cabinet minister told CBS News' Face the Nation that he was encouraged by recent discussions. Washington said Friday's tariff was in response to Canada's failure to stop fentanyl smuggling. Carney says Canada accounts for just 1% of U.S. fentanyl imports. The Prime Minister added that Canada has been working to further reduce the flow of the synthetic opioid. The White House claims fentanyl seizures at the northern border have surpassed the combined seizures of the past 3 years. And Trump says he plans to raise tariffs on India because of its oil trade with Russia. In a Truth Social post this morning, he said India is buying a lot of Russian oil and then selling much of it on the open market to make big profits. Trump added that India doesn't seem to care about the people being killed in Ukraine by Russia. He said because of this, the U.S. will substantially raise the tariffs on India. He didn't explain exactly how much the tariffs would be. Last week, President Trump mentioned a 25% tariff on Indian goods and hinted at more penalties, but gave no details. And this is just in. The European Union will suspend its 2 packages of countermeasures in response to U.S. tariffs. An EU Commission spokesperson said the bloc will hold off for 6 months following a deal with President Trump. Trump's executive order last week set tariffs on most EU goods at 15%. The presidential directive did not include carve-outs for cars, car parts, or liquor. EU officials have said they expect more executive orders to follow soon. The 27-nation bloc has planned 2 separate retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. One package is in response to U.S. steel and aluminum duties. The second round of tariffs is intended to counter Trump's baseline car tariffs. Democratic state lawmakers in Texas fled the state on Sunday to prevent a vote on redrawing congressional maps. Governor Greg Abbott warns he will seek to remove them from office if they don't return by today. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the story.
Democratic state lawmakers from Texas are now staying in Illinois after fleeing the state. Dozens of lawmakers left Sunday in protest of the Republican bill to redraw the state's congressional maps. The new maps could give Republicans a competing chance in Democrat stronghold districts.
We did not make a decision lightly, but we come here today with absolute moral clarity.
Texas's Attorney General warned that they could face fines or arrests for leaving. Republican Governor Greg Abbott is giving lawmakers until 3 p.m. Central Time Monday to return, otherwise face removal from office. The governor warned some lawmakers could face felonies for soliciting money to pay for potential fines. He wrote, "I will use my full extradition authority to demand the return to Texas of any potential out-of-state felons." Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has said he would protect the lawmakers.
And to stand in solidarity with you and send a clear message to all Americans. We will not let power go unchecked. Right. Or let your voices and their voices go unheard.
Lawmakers can't pass bills in the 150-member Texas House without at least 2/3 of them present. The Texas House Speaker said he still plans to meet as scheduled today, and if members aren't present, he says all options will be on the table. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The State Department may soon require foreigners to pay a bond of up to $15,000 to enter the U.S. It will mainly target countries with high visa overstay rates. The rule also applies to those from countries where screening and vetting information is found to be deficient, and also to foreign citizens without proof of residency. The year-long test program is set to take effect in 2 weeks. That's also when they'll announce the countries that the rule will apply to. The bonds could be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. That money would be refunded to the foreign traveler as long as they don't overstay their visa. This is the first time visa bonds will be implemented in the United States. The first Trump administration floated the idea of launching a similar program back in 2020, but it was not implemented due to travel disruptions from the COVID pandemic. Boeing is dealing with another strike. 3,200 hourly machinists walked off their aerospace jobs in the St. Louis, Missouri area, members of the International Association of Machinists voted to authorize a strike at 3 defense plants beginning at 12 a.m. this morning. They want better wages and work schedules.
Our membership spoke loud and clear today that they're not happy with Boeing's latest proposal. Their last, best, and final offer, it did meet the membership's expectation.
It's the second strike in less than a year for Boeing and the latest blow to the company. The airplane maker has had 6 years of serious financial losses and setbacks to many areas of its businesses, including the defense and space unit affected by this strike. Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg said the company's earnings call last week that he believes the company will be able to weather the costs of the strike. He suggested this walkout could cost the company far less than last year's strike of 33,000 commercial plane unit workers. Shares of Boeing slipped less than 1% before the opening bell today. And here with us now to look at the potential impacts of Boeing workers' strike on the airline industry is Tim Doscher, Executive Director of Unleash Prosperity. So good afternoon to you, Tim. So just a refresher, 3,200 workers at 3 facilities in the Midwest have walked off the job, and this is over a contract dispute. So my question to you is, what impact could we see to the airline industry and perhaps the overall U.S. economy?
Well, look, I mean, it's always a big thing when workers go on strike. I mean, as a son of the city of Detroit, strikes are a very, common thing. And you hear about it. You're in school and your friend's dad is on strike currently at the plant, where I'm from. And that's a very common thing. And the strikes work, they say you need us. And you better come back to the table and get to it. And that's the interesting thing with union negotiations right now. When you're at an impasse, you walk away from the table with the hopes that you get attention for the person that you're negotiating with, that you can get the deal that you want. So we'll see that play out. The interesting part of this, though, is that they're making U.S. defense equipment. They're making our defense vehicles, our planes. And so we're going to see if the federal government takes a stand to step in here and say, look, you guys need to get a deal and get back to work, because this is our national security that's at stake. So we will see how that plays out. We would like to think that, the government won't get involved in a private company, but it's a different thing when you're dealing with national security. So we will see how the Trump administration moves forward with this.
Yeah, Tim, I mean, that's a really good point to raise. Because, as you mentioned, defense equipment, right? The facilities make the F-15 Eagle and F-A-18 Hornet. Do you think this could potentially have an impact to national security? That is, if this strike is prolonged.
Well, it's an interesting question. So I wanted to look at the numbers before we talked about it. So Boeing has about 150,000 people working for them in the United States alone. So this is 3,200 people. I'm not saying that that's, not a significant number, 3,200 people, but it is relatively small compared to the total workforce that Boeing does have in the United States of America. So again, I'm not saying that it's not significant, but you do need to take that into perspective when looking at the size. So could it affect? Yes, I do think it could affect, but I also think that that as negotiations go, I do think that these things do get worked out at the table when you come back from the impasse, and I think that will happen. And I think that the government is confident that it will happen and get worked out.
And I just want to follow up on a point you mentioned earlier that strikes do work. So in extension, would you say that in the end, are you feeling that more than likely that the workers will get what they want?
Well, we're gonna have to see how it plays out. I mean, you go big. I mean, it's the art of the deal. You go big, and then you got to settle somewhere in the middle, and I think that that's what we are now. But again, I want to make this point here. We're not just dealing with automakers here. We're dealing with people making our national security things, and I think that's a bargaining chip that the other side has to play in these negotiations, saying you're not just bargaining for yourselves, you're bargaining against the United States of American citizens, and so that is a very, very important role that the other side of the negotiation has to play in this role. And so I certainly hope it doesn't affect it. I don't think that it will. Again, I think that these deals do get worked out in the end. But again, I think it's important for people to realize the unions are bargaining with the United States of America citizens at this point.
So in addition to the strike, I mean, the mid-air blowout, that was a few years ago, and this is
it's been a tough couple of years for Boeing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to ask you, is this going to further impact its reputation?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the stock at this point, it has gone down over the past couple days. It's leveled off right now today. So I do think that people are seeing that there will be headway made on a deal here. But yeah, it will affect Boeing going forward. They have been down. But I will say this. There is something to be said with the fact that President Trump has been negotiating deals abroad that other countries will be buying aircraft made by Boeing. It won't just be us buying Airbus from France or other companies from Canada. They will be buying more from Boeing, and we do need Boeing to fulfill those orders. They are an American company, and they do provide a lot of airline throughout the world. So they are still a great company. They are still very necessary in the airline spectrum. So we will have that to play with. So I don't see them, faltering or going out of business or anything like, folding up shop for that, because they are extremely, extremely important to the airline industry.
Right. I mean, that's another great point to raise, because we can't talk about this in a vacuum, right? Boeing has competitors. You mentioned Airbus. I'm just wondering, competitors, are they going to try to capitalize?
Oh, absolutely, they are 100%. And that's going to be, hey, while this is going on, look, Embraer, I think they're a German company. They're going to be making a play in this, and that's competition. That's a good thing. You want to get your labor all figured out so you can be a reliable producer of aircraft. And that's what the Air Force currently is looking at right now. They're saying, we think it's going to be fine, but, to make good on the delivery dates in which they promised to make. And so that is a huge part of this equation here, is making sure that your labor force is happy, is content, and is working toward those deadlines that you made promises on. So again, we will see what it is, but I also think that again, this is 3,200 employees out of 150,000. I think that we are going to see that deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really important situation, but we won't know until it fully plays out by the end. But it seems like Boeing's CEO is pretty optimistic. Yeah, I think we can leave the conversation there for today. Thank you very much, Tim.
Have a great day.
Next, the federal government will soon stop sending out paper checks for federal payments. This impacts Social Security beneficiaries. We have that story and more after the break.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, plumbing, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. No more headaches searching for technicians. No more budget-breaking chaos. Just a peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-210-6422. 800-210-6422.
Meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. Homeless young people are afraid and alone. Your monthly donation right now will show them they are loved and safe.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.
A train connecting New York City and New Jersey caught fire today. Flames broke out beneath a PATH train, disrupting the Monday morning rush hour. Smoke filled at least one car as passengers evacuated. A short video posted to social media shows smoke inside the train car at a station in New Jersey. Passengers can be heard asking people to open the doors as they eventually disembark. The fire started shortly after 6 a.m. before passengers were evacuated to the platform. 13 people were treated for smoke inhalation at the scene. 9 of them were taken to the hospital for further evaluation. Authorities in Montana are intensifying their search for a man suspected of killing 4 people in a small town bar. U.S. Marshals are now offering a reward as the manhunt enters its 4th day. Here's the latest.
The U.S. Marshals Service on Sunday announced a $7,500 reward for any information leading to the arrest of Michael Brown, an ex-soldier accused of gunning down 4 people inside the Owl Bar in Anaconda, Montana. State Attorney General Austin Knudsen visited Anaconda Sunday to meet with investigators and provide a public update, warning residents that Brown is armed, dangerous, and could return to town.
Absolutely, there's concerns he might come back into town. By all indications, this is an unstable individual who walked in and murdered 4 people in cold blood for no reason whatsoever. So there absolutely is concern for the public. Again, I'm going to stress, we believe this is an armed and extremely dangerous individual.
Investigators say Brown walked into the bar late Friday morning with a rifle, killing the bartender and 3 patrons before fleeing in a stolen pickup truck later recovered by police. Knudsen identified the victims, all local residents, Sunday. They include 59-year-old Daniel Edwin Bailey, 64-year-old Nancy Loretta Kelly, 70-year-old David Allen Leach, and 74-year-old Tony Wayne Palm.
I want to offer our deepest and sincere condolences to the community of Anaconda, to the family and friends of these victims. This is just absolutely horrific.
Security camera images show Brown at a different location after leaving the bar, barefoot, wearing only black underwear and with visible scrapes on his chest and neck. Officials believe he got rid of his clothes and may still be carrying the murder weapon. Knudsen said authorities are still looking for a motive, but that Brown lived near the bar and likely knew all 4 victims. The search now spans the mountains west of Anaconda, with around 250 officers, helicopters, and drones combing the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest. Authorities are urging anyone with information to call 911 or the U.S. Marshals tip line at 1-877-WANTED-2.
The race for South Carolina governor has a new contender. Congresswoman Nancy Mace launched her bid for the position early today. Mace joins a crowded Republican primary field to succeed Governor Henry McMaster.
We will be courageous. We will be resilient.
When she sets her sight on something, she's tough.
And we will be prepared to take on the challenges of this historic moment.
Mace is currently serving her 3rd term in Congress. Last year, she introduced a resolution to ban men from using the women's restrooms at the Capitol. The Congresswoman has also been critical of social media censorship during the COVID pandemic. Mace joins State Attorney General Alan Wilson, Congressman Ralph Norman, and others in the race. And over to the U.S. Senate race in Georgia, former University of Tennessee football coach Derek Dooley today announced his bid in the race against Democratic incumbent Jon Ossoff. Dooley is backed by Governor Brian Kemp and has been teasing a bid since June. He joins a GOP field that includes Congressman Buddy Carter and Mike Collins, as well as activist Reagan Box. Georgia Republicans are looking to topple Ossoff, considered the Senate's most vulnerable Democratic incumbent seeking re-election. Kemp and President Trump met and said they would try to agree on a preferred candidate. Anyone backed by both would be seen as the Republican frontrunner. The U.S. government will soon stop sending out paper checks for federal payments. This impacts Social Security beneficiaries. It's part of an effort to fully modernize federal payments, save money, and as well as fighting financial fraud. More than 500,000 recipients, less than 1%, need to choose another way to receive their Social Security benefits. Either direct deposit or a prepaid debit card known as Direct Express. It starts on September 30th. If you still need a paper check, you can request a waiver. Some exceptions will be made, such as if you're 90 or older, have a mental impairment, or live in too remote of a location. You can apply for a waiver at the website godirect.gov. Tesla's board has awarded CEO Elon Musk a pay package worth about $29 million. Musk is not paid a cash salary or bonus for his work as head of the electric vehicle maker. Instead, Musk makes his money through stock options that allow him to purchase Tesla shares for a fraction of their market price. Musk is Tesla's largest individual shareholder, owning about 13% of the company. In a letter to shareholders today, Tesla said it's been 8 years since Musk has received what it says a meaningful compensation. The letter also notes legal efforts to continue to reinstate his 2018 compensation package. This pay package would give Musk 96 million shares of Tesla, each of which trades at just over $300. Musk would have to pay roughly $23 for each of those shares. Several months ago, a Delaware court rejected for a second time Musk's 2018 performance award following a shareholder lawsuit. Musk is currently appealing the court order. Coming up, what are the impacts of Americans potentially getting dividends from tariff revenue? Will it increase inflation? We discuss with an economist. Stay tuned.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first-round draft pick, on and off the field. We were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is ready? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You didn't even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, backpack kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutVaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
President Trump suggested that Americans could get a cut of the U.S.'s tariff revenue. Joining us now to discuss is Daniel Lacalle, chief economist at Tresses and author of the book Freedom or Equality. Daniel, always great to see you. So what are your thoughts, on hearing that some Americans could get dividends, your initial reactions?
Well, obviously, it makes sense if the public accounts are in order. I think that the most pressing issue right now is the extraordinary level of the government deficit. No? And the Trump administration is taking action to reduce the deficit, to reduce government spending, to make the public accounts more sustainable, and that's the first element that needs to be addressed. Once that is addressed, and once we have, according to the latest estimates, we're talking about $7 trillion of tariff revenues throughout the next 10 years. Then we can certainly discuss about the options of reducing the tax burden and obviously giving back part to the American consumer. It obviously makes sense. But certainly it's first eliminating, well, not eliminating, it's basically bringing the deficit to a sustainable level, bringing debt down, reducing government spending, and then giving back part to citizens.
Okay, do you see tariffs as a stable source of government revenue generation?
Well, it's interesting that you asked this question, because in the heated debate about tariffs, I read the other day that the European Union collected more than 28 billion euro of tariffs in the last 3 months. No? And that the European Union considers this as a key element of maintaining the fiscal stability of the union. No? So of course it is. It's like any other source of revenue for the government. But I think that what we need to understand is that tariffs have been implemented in order to provide a better environment for trade, and that it's going to be the combination not only of tariff revenues, but higher exports and lower imports. All of those things are beneficial for the U.S. economy.
Okay, let's say the first priority is taking care of, as you mentioned earlier, reducing the federal deficit of national debt, and then reducing federal spending, and then we still have money left over with these tariffs, revenue from the tariffs, and we give them to consumers. Let me ask you this question. So American importers pay for these tariffs, right? And then the revenue is given to someone else. Does this look like wealth redistribution?
Not really. American importers don't pay for the tariffs. We have seen so far, and it's now pretty evident in the inflation figures, that it's mostly the exporters and throughout the supply chain, the different elements that have overcapacity that pay for the tariffs. If there's any evidence actually of what importers are doing, is that most large importers from Whole Foods to Costco to Walmart, etc., they're actually not paying for the tariff. The second is that obviously tariffs are an element of government fiscal planning. So if the government wants to provide a certain element of relief to certain brackets of the fiscal side, that's obviously their prerogative, and they can use those revenues the same way that they can use, for example, the revenues from royalties from oil extraction or royalties from natural gas extraction. Royalties from oil extraction are paid by the exploration and production companies, and those royalties are used then to provide for services or any other type of benefit for the U.S. citizens. So obviously it is part of fiscal planning like any other.
Okay, can you elaborate on what you said at this one point that exporters pay these tariffs? So if I'm a company in China and I'm exporting to the United States, I have to pay the United States to send my product to the U.S.
Exactly. What we have seen, and there's 29 billion in July of revenues collected from tariffs, is that they're paid by the exporters. Furthermore, think about this. A lot of people say that tariffs cause inflation and that tariffs increase prices. But that makes absolutely no sense. Costs do not dictate final prices. The imputation principle coming from Karl Menger, as is a very well-known principle in economics, shows that costs don't drive final prices. It's final prices what drives costs. And one of the things that we know as well is that tariffs don't create more units of currency in the system. Therefore, they don't cause inflation. So in the debate these days, I hear a lot of times people talking about tariffs from the following principle: exporter, importer, no? Like as if the supply chain was created by two links. But it's not true. It is exporter, distributor, transport, storage, all different elements of the chain. And what's most interesting, and you know this very well because we have discussed it a few times, is that most exporters have overcapacity and working capital challenges. Therefore, for them, it is better to absorb the cost of the tariff in order to sell more and better to the United States, which is the largest and richest economy. That's why inflation and inflation expectations are not rising, because those tariffs are being gradually shared among the parts in which there is more overcapacity in the supply chain.
Okay, on the topic of inflation, I had another thought. I remember during the pandemic, right, we saw how the government was sending paychecks to households. Would this be the same thing if the government is sending dividends to households?
No, very different. In the pandemic, the government was sending paychecks to households coming from what? From issuing new currency, and i.e. printing money and increasing debt, okay? This is the opposite. This is, you are receiving revenues, okay, coming from abroad, and those revenues are then distributed to households. So it would be the opposite. It would be not a policy of printing money to give a paycheck, but a policy of not printing money and receiving higher revenues that then are maybe utilized as a paycheck. It's a big difference, because the first one means more units of currency in the system, and that obviously was part of what created the element of inflation that we have seen in the past years. And we have to remind people that inflation is not rising prices. Inflation is the loss of purchasing power of the currency. Rising prices is a consequence of inflation, is not inflation. So with the distribution of part of the revenues coming from tariffs to citizens, you would not be creating new units of currency, you would not be printing money, and certainly not increasing the debt, actually decreasing it. Therefore, it doesn't create inflation.
Okay. Here's another question that I have. If the government starts handing out checks to households, and these are funded by tariffs, and these households, they are voters, right? Would that give the U.S. government an incentive to keep tariffs higher, maybe?
That's a dangerous, yeah, it can, but it's a dangerous way of looking at it, because if you think about it, we all understand that we need to have some taxes, okay, in order for the government and society to function within a state, okay? We all understand that. However, we all understand that very high taxes for a prolonged period of time, even worse, are going to be detrimental for growth and for the economy. Tariffs are a tool to basically level the playing field in the trading of the United States with its partners. Leveling the playing field is one thing. Another completely different thing is going into a protectionist Monroean type of position relative to tariffs, which would have the same negative effect as having very high taxes. We understand that having an attractive level of taxation in for companies and for citizens is something that helps provide good services and at the same time is not negative for economic growth. However, if you constantly increase taxes, that would be detrimental. The same with tariffs. If you use tariffs as they have been used as a negotiation tool to level the playing field, that is positive and is also generating higher revenue. But if you go and then just continually increase tariffs, then it does have a negative economic effect.
Okay, just one last question, Daniel. You said earlier that there's a big difference between sending paychecks to households like during the pandemic and compared to what Trump is suggesting now, giving a cut of the tariff revenue to households. It doesn't increase inflation. Does it stimulate the economy?
It may. Obviously, these types of policies, we also have to understand that if you provide a check to households, part of it may be saved, part of it may be spent. The impact obviously is limited, but exists. So obviously, it could create some level of support to economic growth, but it's not something that is likely to be, let's say, prolonged and sustainable. It's a boost, but it's not, it's not a permanent policy.
Well, okay, Daniel, it's great to see you again this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Don. Have a good weekend.
You too. President Trump says he deployed nuclear submarines to the Russian region, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff might travel to Moscow and meet with President Vladimir Putin. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pasdar has the Russia update.
They are in the region, yeah, where they have to be.
President Trump says he deployed nuclear submarines to face possible Russian aggression. According to Trump, the submarines are, quote, in the region. The move comes in response to statements by former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. Last week, Trump imposed a Friday deadline for Russia to end the Ukraine war. Medvedev, who's now the chairman of Russia's Security Council, responded last week, saying each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. If Russia misses the Friday deadline, Trump says he'll impose more sanctions on Moscow and any country doing business with Russia.
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters.
Russia is now trying to negotiate with the United States. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff might travel to Moscow this week for talks. On Sunday, Trump commented about this week's plans.
He may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
The Kremlin on Monday said President Vladimir Putin is happy to meet with Witkoff. According to a spokesperson, Moscow considers the contact to be important, substantial, and very useful. Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
Ukrainian drones are intercepting Russia's unmanned aircraft, changing the battlefield dynamic more than 3 years into the war. They're an effective, cheaper option for Ukraine as it repels Russian air attacks. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on their tactics.
A Ukrainian drone launches up into the sky. It's on the hunt for Russian drones. A Ukrainian air defense regiment says it has shot down several hundred unmanned Russian aircraft.
When we started actively using interceptors against enemy reconnaissance drones, the threat posed by them decreased naturally.
Drones are giving Ukraine a much cheaper and readily accessible option. One officer estimates that they cost about a fifth of what an air defense missile does, and they're effective.
Before our regiment started using interceptor drones, the enemy used to fly his reconnaissance drones quite deep into Ukrainian-held territory. But because interceptor drones became a real thing, they fly very carefully now. When they dare to fly in deep, the air defense works successfully.
Ukrainian military charity foundation Come Back Alive says it supplies interceptors to 90 units. Since the project began a year ago, the organization says its unmanned aircraft have downed over 3,000 Russian drones. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is heading to New York for a special UN Security Council session. Before leaving, he said he initiated tomorrow's meeting to put a focus on the hostage issue. He was referring to a video recently released by Hamas showing a hostage still held in Gaza. And just a warning, this report potentially includes content that some viewers may find disturbing.
We see the dire condition of our starved hostages, yet they still have not seen representatives of the Red Cross, despite this being explicitly agreed upon.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday he was horrified as he watched the videos of hostages, showing them in deteriorating physical and mental conditions. One video showed Israeli hostage Ivatar David in a Gaza tunnel, saying he was not eating for days and is digging his own grave. Netanyahu added that the videos show what Hamas truly wanted, which is to break Israel. According to Israeli officials, 50 hostages now remain in Gaza, only 20 of whom are believed to be alive. Hamas has barred humanitarian organizations from having any kind of access to the hostages, and families have little or no details about their conditions. Coming up, art inspired by Shen Yun, the performing arts company approaching 2 decades bringing traditional tales to stages around the world, despite opposition from a brutal dictatorship. Faith and perseverance in the spotlight. That and more after the break.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Next, it's a story with the weight of legend. A once small performing arts company battling through hell and high water for nearly 2 decades, standing up to the world's largest dictatorship all in the name of bringing light, beauty, and tradition to the global stage. Now, as Shen Yun Performing Arts approaches its 20th anniversary, and as its 8th touring groups prepare for another season on the world stage, we take a look at the spirit of freedom and perseverance that drives them. Over the weekend, just a stone's throw from their New York home base, the new Middletown specialty store gave visitors a glimpse into that story through vivid scenes from the performances. NTD's Victoria White has more.
This is one of 16 art pieces inspired by Shen Yun Performing Arts to celebrate the upcoming 20th anniversary of the company. It's a story of freedom, artistry and resilience. And we're here in New Middletown store in upstate New York. Let's take a look.
A sweep of the room gives form to the promise of Shen Yun and the art prints it's inspired here tonight. To experience the timeless beauty of divine Chinese culture through art. Each piece, carefully selected, depicts an iconic moment on stage over the past 2 decades, choreographed compositions that hark back to ancient Chinese history and seem to point the way forward to a more just, more loving world. Shen Yun Collections designer Fei Meng says she hopes these art pieces uplift and inspire.
We wanted people to, to be elevated, and we wanted this artwork, elevate and enrich people's personal space. And when people view these Shen Yun inspired artworks, they can immerse themselves into the world and the spirit of Shen Yun.
Lawmakers and locals alike said they were moved by the exhibition, both the beauty of the works on display and the performances those works reflect.
It's absolutely beautiful. Not only do I appreciate the artwork, but the music. I have always loved and appreciated the music here so much. It just really plays true to my heart. But the artwork is exquisite, and I think that the fact that we can have this here in the city of Middletown and we can welcome everybody and embrace the culture, I think is really wonderful. We're very fortunate.
Oh, this is amazing. It's such a breath of fresh air here in Middletown to come and see high level of work in such a beautiful venue.
From Middletown to Milan and countless cities in between, Shen Yun's spirit spans the globe, except in China, where the communist regime has never let the lights go on or the curtain rise on a Shen Yun show. Kay Rubicek is the mum of 2 Shen Yun artists.
Shen Yun can't perform in China, no, not yet. But one day, I think all the performers really hope that it will, because that's the essence of Chinese culture in Shen Yun. But right now, China is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. It's a regime that has taken over the nation, and when they're in control, they don't allow anything that is seen to threaten their legitimacy. And Shen Yun shows China before communism, and that scares the Chinese Communist Party very much. They've gone to great lengths to try and stop it, but you see events like this and sold-out theatres throughout the world, and Shen Yun's really having a big impact.
The communist regime targets faith groups from Christians to Uyghurs to Falun Gong. Also known as Falun Dafa, Falun Gong is a spiritual discipline rooted in ancient Chinese tradition. Its core values: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. But in China, any faith not controlled by the state is outlawed. Across decades of evidence, torture, forced labor, even organ harvesting, all used to crush belief and tighten the regime's hold. Yet with faith and perseverance, resilience rises. In the face of pressure at home, Shen Yun was conceived abroad. Falun Gong practitioners who escaped communist China set out to show the world both the shadows and the light hidden behind the red wall. They faced persecution since day one.
It started really from the very first day Shen Yun did their first show back in 2006. Chinese diplomats is one clear example. All around the world, in over 40 countries, Chinese diplomats, sometimes the ambassador, him or herself, would pressure the local theater, local mayor, don't have the show, don't put this on, there'll be economic repercussions, political repercussions. So that's one thing. And then there's just outright thuggery, vandalizing Shen Yun's buses. Bomb threats have followed Shen Yun in recent years all over the world. They had to evacuate the Kennedy Center this last tour. And so Beijing does, the Chinese Communist Party does a lot of different things to try and squeeze this company and make sure people don't see or hear their message.
And today, obviously, this is this art gallery. What is it like to see Shen Yun depicted in these pieces of art today?
I think it's a victory in my mind. Here you have a company started by Falun Gong practitioners that the Chinese regime is trying to silence all over the world, and it's become, I'd say, the fastest growing performing arts company in American history, for sure. And it's something that's resonating all over the world. And I think a lot of these artworks are a testament to the fact that, no matter what the Chinese regime tries to do to this company, people are loving it. They love the message. They love the artistry. And so I think this is a testament to all that.
And obviously, Shen Yun Performing Arts is reviving traditional Chinese culture, but I do feel it's an American story too. As an American, would you say that? How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I think this rivals the story of Hewlett-Packard and all the great startups that we've had. Ford Motor Company, where Shen Yun's story is a great American startup story. They literally started with volunteers up in the middle of the mountains, and had a building or two to work out, and they started just with that. And they went through a time where a lot of performing arts companies are folding. They went through COVID. They went through all these things, and they're growing and growing and growing. Eightfold, in fact. They started with one company, then now have 8 companies. So that's, I think, a testament to what people like the Shen Yun artists, who have their faith, who have their work ethic, combined with the freedom and liberty of America, what we can achieve together. Shen Yun's the answer.
It's a victory we share, the triumph of freedom, of hope, of faith. From frame to stage, the story endures. 20 years on, and it's still just the beginning.
The art gallery will be open until August 5th, and Shen Yun Collections will be hosting more upcoming product launches and events in the run-up to Shen Yun's 20th anniversary. Victoria White, NTD News, Middletown.
The prints will be soon available worldwide through Shen Yun Creations online collection. And up next, President Trump fires the labor statistics chief, blaming her for manipulating the job numbers. What is the degree of independence of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and how insulated is the BLS from political influence? We discuss this with an analyst after the break here on NTD News.
Now with your gift of $19 a month, you'll help provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. Homeless young people are afraid and alone. Your monthly donation right now will show them they are loved and safe.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. My father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would